Shalom. This week's Torah portion is Parashat Vayishlach, meaning "and he sent," beginning in the book of Genesis in chapter 32 and verse 4. Our portion continues to focus on Yaakov Avinu, our patriarch Jacob, and includes many important events in his life, including his struggle with the angel, his meeting with Esav, the rape of Yaakov's daughter Dinah by Shem, and the revenge of Shimon and Levi on the city, God's adding the additional name of Israel to Jacob, the birth of Benjamin and the death of Rachel, and the burial of Yitzchak by Yaakov and Esav. During the long years in which Yaakov served in the house of Lavan, he established the nation of Israel with great self-sacrifice, while carefully keeping all of Hashem's commandments. Ostensibly, he was occupied with hard physical labor and raising a family, while the subterfuge of Lavan continuously placed impediments before him in a tireless attempt to cause him to fail. But Yaakov's real occupation was fixing the world. Our Torah portion spans 23 years, from the time of Yaakov's return from Haran and his encounter with Esav to Yitzchak's death. More than 20 years have passed since Yaakov received the blessings from his father Yitzchak, which kindled the wrath of Esav, causing his mother Rivka to instruct Yaakov to flee to her brother Lavan. Although so much time has passed, Yaakov is concerned about meeting up with Esav, whose intentions are unclear, but who is closing in to meet him with an army of 400 men. Yaakov prepared a three-part strategy to prepare for this fateful meeting, consisting of sending a gift, praying for deliverance, and preparing for battle if necessary. Yaakov prays to God to save him from the hand of his brother Esav. So open up your heart now. He begins to pray in chapter 32 and verse 10, "God of my father Abraham and God of my father Isaac, Hashem, who said to me, 'Return to your land and to your relatives, and I will do good for you.' I have become diminished by all the kindnesses and by all the truth that you have done for your servant. For with my staff I crossed this Jordan, and now I have become two camps. Rescue me, please, from the hand of my brother, from the hand of Esav." In his prayer, Yaakov uses this amazing word, katanti. Literally, I have become small, I have become diminished, by all the kindnesses and truth that you have performed for your servant. What did Yaakov mean by this unusual choice of words, I have become diminished, which appears nowhere else in the entire Torah? So Rashi cites a well-known teaching of our sages that Yaakov's intention was, my merits have been diminished by the kindness and truth that you have done for me. See, Yaakov feared that all of Hashem's great kindnesses, which he heretofore received, subtracted somehow from his merit, and his credit, as it were, was maxed out. And thus he was afraid for his meeting with Esav. I have been diminished, meaning I feel inadequate on account of all the kindnesses that Hashem has bestowed on me. This is one of the well-known understandings of the meaning of Yaakov's words, one of the better-known understandings. Katanti, I look at myself after having experienced all these kindnesses, and I feel lessened. So the simple interpretation of that feeling of smallness that Yaakov felt is just that. I am unworthy of all the kindnesses that you have done for me. But our guiding principle as we study is that Torah is eternal, and every detail conveys a deep, lasting, and profound lesson for all time, and for each and every one of us. How much more so do we know this to be true when it comes to lessons learned from the life of Yaakov? In this very Torah portion, Yaakov receives his heavenly ordained dual identity as Israel, and thus, in some measure, he transcends himself altogether. Our sages state that the forefathers themselves are the chariot of God's presence in this world. That teaching means that they rose to their full human potential so that their very lives became a vessel to convey godliness in this world. Yaakov is called by our sages the perfection of the forefathers. Torah provides so much detail about his life, his adventures, and the expression of his emotion. It makes his humanity more accessible to us. Of all three patriarchs, Yaakov is the one that we're able to identify with the most. So if we open our hearts in the deepest way, we can find a deeper meaning and a transformative lesson in Yaakov's elusive expression of katanti. Yaakov is revealing a mental state to strive for, a spiritual foundation for developing one's relationship with God. He's teaching us how to receive Hashem's blessing and how to give thanks for it. First, Yaakov gives deep thanks for all the kindness that Hashem performed for him. until this very moment, up until now. He recalls the situation of 20 years ago when he crossed this Jordan River in a destitute state with nothing but the very staff in his hands. And now he stands as the head of a family, a prosperous household, including possessions and livestock, large enough to be divided into two camps. Your kindness, he says, causes me to realize my own smallness. I'm small in my own eyes, says Yaakov, in the face of all the kindness and truth you have done for me. This is a positive process, not negative. If to whatever degree my sense of self was inflated in my own mind, now I have learned to know just how inadequate I am. Your chesed, your kindness itself, has caused me to realize just how dependent I am on you. This way of looking at the great kindnesses which God provides for a person is so the opposite of how most people react when they have made it. Generally, when a person feels prosperous and accomplished with possessions and family and accomplishments, his own sense of self becomes magnified in his own mind. He struts his feathers like an important person. He projects an image, and his presence is always very noticeable. He never wastes a photo op, and his arm cramps up from taking so many selfies. But when Yaakov receives heavenly blessing, he contracts. His sense of self shrinks. How does that work? So when Hashem confers kindness upon us, how do we react? The natural reaction of most people is to focus on what's been received. The thing itself is the source of my joy. I receive this. I have this. It's mine. It was meant for me. I am big. The feeling is expansive. One feels enlarged, and thus he feels happy. This is a great thing that I've got going here, and I am the greater for it. But while a natural reaction, this is a reflection and a confirmation of the inherent baseness of human nature. Self-absorption and self-centeredness puts me in the center and makes every moment a me moment. Well, whose moment should it be? I got this blessing, obviously. It's all about me. And we're not talking here about an ungrateful person or a person in denial. We're talking here about a good person who recognizes God and expresses a certain thankfulness to him. He's like, God, I know you gave me this blessing. Thanks a lot. You go, God. But there is a dishonesty in this thanks, a certain self-deception, because the greater I become in my own eyes, the smaller and more distant from me is God becoming. I really needed a certain blessing, and I got it. So this is all about me. There the focus is on what has been received. And the person thanks God, but he's really saying, thanks very much, Hashem, for being such a great facilitator. It's so great to be connected to you. You're limitless. You can constantly give me more and more. So deep down, this person is looking at God as a means to his ends. And his own betterment is his goal, his own enlargement. Open up your heart in the very deepest way. For this person, God is the giver. But to this person, he's just the means. So this individual is very grateful, but to him, the main thing is, I got what I needed, and God is the delivery man. If someone else had provided it, that would also have been fine. I don't have to get it specifically from Hashem's hands. But the very opposite is true. We need to realize that everything we receive is only from Hashem's hand. So open up your heart in the very, very deepest way. There's a story told about the Holy Baal Shem Tov. I've shared it in the past, but it's spot on. Early one Friday morning, the Baal Shem Tov had nothing in the house. No food for Shabbat and no money. Walking through the forest, he came upon a certain house and knocked on the door once. Then he kept on walking. Now, the home's occupant was awakened by the knock, and being a kind-hearted person and thinking that perhaps someone might need help, he quickly got dressed and he went to answer the door. Nobody was there. But off in the distance, he saw a figure walking, receding. He ran after him until he reached him, and he said, "Are you the one who knocked on my door?" "Yes," replied the Baal Shem Tov, "it was I." "Why did you knock on my door?" the man asked. "Because I need help," said the Baal Shem Tov. "So then, why didn't you stay until I came to the door? Why did you knock and then leave?" "Thank you, my friend, for answering the door. It's true," replied the Holy Baal Shem Tov. "I am in need of help, but it doesn't have to be through you." The Baal Shem Tov felt such total dependence on Hashem himself, he would not even consider that a person could help him. He knew that all he had to do was show Hashem that he was creating a vessel to receive his blessing. So he knocked on the first door he came to. "It doesn't have to be you," he said. I'll thank you and appreciate you if you are Hashem's delivery man in helping me. But honestly, this has got nothing to do with you. And however Hashem chooses to give me is fine. Hashem provides for everyone. So it comes through a messenger, but that person is only a messenger. Everything we receive and everything we have is from Hashem alone. Yaakov is teaching us how this realization affects the way in which we receive the kindness and brings us closer to God. I have become diminished. I have received your kindness, and they have made me small. They have taught me to look deeply at myself from a completely different perspective. And it's this realization that this is really all about. My understanding of my smallness is the real gift and blessing. The kindness itself was only a means to reach this understanding of who you are and who I am and who you are to me. Yaakov's heartfelt reaction of, I am diminished, is the exact opposite of the base, instinctive, I, me, mine reaction. The more aware one becomes that he lives from Hashem's hand at every moment, the more aware he becomes of every great kindness he receives, the smaller the recipient becomes as he realizes that his entire life is a figment of Hashem's kindness, including all the small things that we've all become used to and which we take for granted. In 1 Chronicles chapter 29, we learn about how all the people donated gold and silver and precious stones and materials for the building of the first holy temple. The people rejoiced in their donations, verse 9 states, for they donated wholeheartedly to Hashem. King David also rejoiced with great gladness. And now open up your heart in the very deepest way ever in your life to one of the most profoundly beautiful and revealing verses in all of Tanakh. King David continues in verse 14, for who am I and what is my people that we should muster the strength to donate in this manner? For everything is from you, and from your hand we have given to you. From your hand we have given to you. What credit do we deserve for giving? We have simply given back to you what is yours. Nothing is ours. Are we to be praised for giving back to you when everything is yours? This is what King David is saying. This is the patriarch Yaakov's lesson for us, the deepest secret of what it means to receive. True acknowledgement of Hashem's kindness is an anti-inflammatory. It is receiving without inflating the ego. It's a true soul-level transformation that brings about a spirit of humility, a sense of the self as being irrelevant, as nothingness. Otherwise, Hashem's bestowal of blessing could ironically cause a person to sink into the abyss of the pride of material wealth in whatever form it's been received, while ignoring the source of all the good. The blessing is not the material manifestation of the blessing. The real blessing is that in acknowledging God as the only source, in honest and humble recognition of how much God does for us, the individual can experience a transformative revelation of Hashem's attribute of kindness, causing us to grow closer to God than before. This is Yaakov's words, katanti, I have become diminished. The closer we get to you, the smaller we become. Thank you for being a part of Jerusalem Lights. We appreciate your support, which enables these broadcasts to continue. May we all truly recognize all the blessings in our lives, and may we acknowledge God as the true source of all these blessings. Shabbat Shalom.